I finally decided, why do I watch The X Factor? Well, I watch it because it's part of my work. But let me say this, if I was watching it as a concerned human being, I wouldn't watch it. I would protest by not watching it. If I had an opportunity, I would almost walk up and down outside the television station and protest against the appalling brutality, humiliation, and use of good, ordinary people for public consumption. Why don't they actually just have lions and Christians in the amphitheatre so we can actually watch people done to death? Then we'd watch television. How wonderful it would be. What The X Factor proves is there is no depth to which television stations are not prepared to descend in order to get audience. Let's put this weekend's X Factor in some kind of context. They're in people's homes. Now, you take somebody like Johnny Robinson, 45 years of age, fairly obviously poor, living in a bed sit, in which he says, I don't even have a proper bed. And he is now in this palatial estate owned by this multi-millionaire who is going to decide on his success or failure in X Factor. Every single person who goes there can't help but think, if I can get to the final, this could be mine. I could live in this kind of a lifestyle. It's the kind of ultimate lottery ticket, I can give you the numbers to the lottery and you can win and be sitting, lying in your deck chair, sipping a pina colada on beaches in Bahamas on the proceeds of your victory. I was appalled when Terry Winstanley, who I think is of average talent, he's the guy who's a driver on a building site, and there's another guy who's a part-time security worker. The part-time security worker, before he hears the news, says, I could be back. I live on a council estate. I could be back in a bad place. Terry, after he's dropped by Louis Walsh in what I thought was a dreadful interview, I cringed, I hated it, the way Walsh dragged it out, the way Walsh hurt this man. Because remember, you see, what they know is that the kind of opening sentence saying, I didn't think you were very good, or I'd have to take a risk, that actually isn't a negative. They know that. They know there's a back door which says, and I'm prepared to take a risk with you. So there is this awful play acting for the cameras of bringing the people down and lifting them up, or bringing them down and dropping them. It's hateful. It is awful. Talent-wise, well, I looked at the betting. Now, you know me and bookmakers. I have no interest on betting. This 16-year-old kid, for some extraordinary reason, well, I know why. Louis publicly said she is the one. She's the anointed one, according to Louis. That she is 5-1, I think. At 66-1, the absolute outsider is the best voice in the competition. Johnny Robinson. I mean, how this gangly man with bad teeth and glasses and mincing gait comes on, then he opens his mouth and he's an angel. I mean, this is astonishing. I would watch this program only for Johnny Robinson. What Johnny Robinson does for me watching this program is to actually give this program some credibility. It actually says this program can discover talent. And only then, only if Johnny Robinson does this program become legitimate. I think it is awful to bring people from poor backgrounds, limited intellect, in some case I think less than limited intellect, lift them up and then drop them down, particularly when emotionally they may not be able to cope with that. For a young person of 16 or 17 to say, my life is over, is awful. How can somebody at 16 or 17 with 8 decades of their life left to live. How can they possibly say, my life is over? And that is the tragedy of this. This is, at least we can buy the lottery ticket in private. At least we can sit at home and cry when our number doesn't come up and think, oh shoot, I'm really not going to have the mansion in the Bahamas. But to do it live on television, your friends, family watching, your workmates, like Terry Winstanley, going back to driving that truck from the building site. It's outrageous. God, I hate this program. And I'm going to have to watch it next week because it's part of my work. But it is awful. Rugby's a lot better than this, believe me.